Hello, I just want to tell you a little bit about my story, caring for my dad. I grew up in a children's home. I didn't grow up with my dad to start with. At 18, I got the chance to live with him, and we both took it. I stayed with him for 35 years or so, up until he died. Those years before his dementia, I guess they were our bonding years, if you want to look at it that way. We started to learn about each other and understand each other, and I went to his home, his Caribbean home, for the first time, and that helped me a lot to understand who I am. All those sorts of things we experienced together for the first time. So I knew what it was like not to have him in my early ages. So I was very grateful for the time that I was with him. Nobody explained to me then what I was expected to do, or what I should try and do, or how to do things, or what to expect. From care to carer. When I was about 43 or so, I noticed that my dad was doing some things he was starting to struggle with. I was already at home, and so that wasn't a problem for me. I'd already left work and decided that I needed a break from work for, 6 months or so. And during that time is when I noticed Dad was struggling with a few things. Small things, but still the struggle was becoming more noticeable, and more of a realization that this was now part of my life in a different way. He was assessed by, some cognitive doctor. I didn't understand the test. I didn't understand why they were testing him. To be honest, I can't even remember how that started. A week or so later, the letter came back informing him, or me, or both of us, that he had vascular dementia, and that's all I remember, really. Some other big words, but I didn't understand the big words. As far as I'm aware, it really didn't make much difference because I was already at home. But yes, so that's how I remember that. But his dementia progress or decline, which however way you want to look at it, was slow. He had a few mini strokes or TIAs along the way, and after a while I did recognize that when he would have one of those episodes, maybe a couple of weeks later, something would change for him. And I started to recognize and wait, and think, you can no longer do that, or you're forgetting a little bit more, or something along those lines. So it became easier for me to adjust. How I got to be his carer officially is through the job centre. As I was saying, I wasn't working, but after 6 months or so I was being pushed more into going to interviews. But the more interviews I was having, the more I realised I couldn't concentrate on the interviews. I was thinking about my dad at home. I thought, well, I almost have no choice here but to stay at home because he can't cope, really. And almost what's the point in me going to work if I'm going to be worried about him home alone? There was one time I sat with the advisor at the job centre, and she suggested that I become a carer. I didn't know what that was, really. I just heard the word, asked the question if I could be at home, and that I guess I would get some money. I guess that was it for me, but the main part was being at home. So I accepted, and I did that for 12 years. I didn't know how long I was going to be there for, caring for him, looking after him, advocating for him, being more assertive on his behalf, dealing with the doctors and the nurses and the hospitals and the emergency services and the equipment people, and filling out forms or getting help to fill out forms, and social services, and I'm sure I've missed something out. But I didn't know any of that. It wasn't explained to me. I wasn't given any pamphlets about it or anything like that. I just became officially his appointee. I didn't even know what that meant. I was responsible for his finances, as in his pension and paying his bills. But those things were not difficult to do because I was more or less doing them anyway. It was just more official on paper, which I guess was the important thing. I guess my responsibilities day to day was making sure he had something to eat and was able to get up in the morning and he could dress himself and come down the stairs, comfortable seat, and make sure the TV was on and make sure nothing was on that would upset him or confuse him, or make sure the medication, I guess that was one thing I had to make sure of, and that I was giving it to him in the right order and the right time and the right amount. Taking him to the eye hospital because he had cataracts. It's a lot to take on, but it's a lot to take on. And I suppose if you know what you're going to take on, would you take it on? That's another question. But either way, I did what I did, and I have no regrets doing that. But I could never really switch off. I was always monitoring him and making sure he's okay, making sure he's still awake, making sure he's still alive, give him something to eat, because I'd have to do shopping, just kind of let him know I was going shopping or going out, and he would acknowledge that and felt I needed to be back within an hour or two because I couldn't leave him much longer than that on his own. I used to do photography and go to a group once a week. I had to give that up, explain to the group that I couldn't come back anymore because I was caring for my dad. I think they knew I was caring, but I don't think they understood that I couldn't do both. That was hard to do, but I had to make a decision. And the decision was to stay at home and look after my dad. If there's one thing I guess I wish somebody had kind of at least told me or warned me about or informed me about, was how much there would be to do and to be responsible for on his behalf, not mine, on his behalf. So slowly I forgot about myself and did everything around him. There was a time where I had to move from our old flat to the new one, and that was a lot of work. I had to get my dad into a care home miles away, check it out first. He ended up miles away from here, and my explanation to him at the time was, I think I did tell him we were moving, and to be honest he was good, but having to place him into a care home for a night or two was not nice, but that was another decision I had to make on my own. So the caring carried on for 12 years or so in the new flat. He was very good with the new changes and settled in very quickly, and he was here for about 8 years, I think, before he died. He died in his late 90s and I was in my mid-50s. So we were together for a long time, and 12 of those years I cared for him. From being in care to a carer, which I find quite ironic, but to be honest, it was something I'm glad I went through. I'm glad that I did, and I'm proud that I did it. After he died, I think I had about 5 days to try and sort out the important things, like his death certificate, back and forth to the doctor and getting it signed, and get to the registry office, to the job centre. I think the job centre is what pushed me over the edge in a way, because I felt as though they were saying you need to get back to work, but my dad's only been gone a few days and I've been caring for him for 12 years. And one thing I did notice whilst I was at the job centre, I couldn't say my name just off the tip of my tongue. My dad's name always came first in my head. His date of birth always came first in my head. So when it came to me saying my own name and my own date of birth, just like that, because to a lot of people it just comes without thinking. It would take me, 30 seconds on, and I'm sure people would think, why is it taking her so long? But 12 years of saying somebody else's name and date of birth, It's going to take me a minute or two to remember mine and to say it. And I think in total that took about 2 years to get through. 2 years. People don't know, people don't see these things. They don't acknowledge these things. Having to deal with doctors when he was hospitalised and the so-called professionals and the carers. That was hard work, dealing with the carers, and 4 times every single day, including Sunday. So there's no break for me. So I became more stressed with that routine than just trying to do it all on my own. But after he died, like I said, it was a struggle. Having to arrange his funeral. I had some help, but not much. And then one person asked me on the day of his funeral, a friend who used to run a gym class, he asked me, well, what do I want? I still don't know what I want, but I know I haven't got it. I haven't had it. Because nobody's come to me and said, what do you need? Your dad has passed. How can I help you now? I still need some help, some support, some guidance. Someone who understands me and what I've gone through and what I'm still going through. I'm 7 years in or out, whichever way you want to look at it. But I'm still hurting. I'm still upset. Do all that work out of the goodness of your heart for that person. I'm not complaining about that. But what I am saying is that after it's done, nobody comes to care for you and ask you, not even for 3 months or so, just to help you get back on your feet. No, you're left on your own. And you're supposed to cope. And you're supposed to understand how the world works. And it's not easy. Like a friend said to me, that's the way the system is set up. So I lost the structure that I guess I'd put in place without realizing it. And to be honest, I am still partly in that structure because I realized it this morning before I did this video about, damn, you're still doing that? And your dad's been gone 7 years? But something is saying to me, I'm not ready to let go of that yet. He died nearly 7 years ago now. And I'm still looking for parts of that closure. I'm not upset at the loss of him, because that's to be expected, and I saw it come in and all those things. But it's the years of caring that I feel have gone unacknowledged. Not so much unseen, but unacknowledged. That's not self-pity. That's the reality of what happens to carers. Millions of them. There's lots of people out there in this country and around the world who are doing this. I don't know. Do they get a thank you? When the caring ends, especially? No. Nobody understands unless they've been through it. And nobody is speaking up about those people who have been through it and it's ended and they have to carry on their lives. There's no after-caring support. But there's lots of support for the person who needs it. I need it. Where's the support for me? Now it's ended. I guess the support for me now it's ended is building this group, this CarersInfo. Because I still see out there that people are struggling and the emotions they're dealing with and the conflicts they're having with the professionals and the families and the person they're caring for and all these things. It doesn't seem to have got much better. The carer does deserve to be seen and to be heard and to feel what they're feeling is okay. But they need to be able to have somebody to say that to. Even if it's for 3 months, at least. So what I've tried to do whilst we're waiting for those 3 months is to create this site. Hopefully it'll be helpful to people. What I want is every carer who finds this site to feel, not just to know, but to genuinely feel someone sees you, someone hears you, and someone understands you. Not just what you do, but the person behind the caring. I'm not here to replace a professional support. I'm here because I've been there. And I know that sometimes the most important thing is simply to be seen by someone who understands. If you have recognized yourself in anything I've said today, if you felt invisible in your caring or lost after it ended, I want you to know that's exactly who this site is for. The link is below. Come and find me there.